Bailey will kick off. Dan Bailey will send it down to Travaris Cadet. And off we go from the Superdome with Cadet taking a knee, and Drew Brees and his gang going to work from the 20-yard line as we take a look at the Saints starters.
Drew Brees, Purdue Boilermaker.
Pierre Thomas, Illinois.
Marcus Colston, Hofstra University.
Kenny Stills, University of Oklahoma.
Jimmy Graham, the U.
Benjamin Watson, Georgia.
Charles Brown, USC. Ben Grubbs, Auburn University.
Brian Della Puente, Cal Berkeley.
Jari Evans, Bloomsburg University.
Zach Strief, Northwestern.
We'll see if that line can protect Brees tonight. The Jets were able to get to Brees last week, put a lot of heat on him. They start on the ground, and it's a 7-yard gain for Pierre Thomas, who keeps those legs churning, and it will be 2nd down and 3. Drew Brees, just another outstanding season for him. And when you take a look at his history against the Cowboys, in 5 games, a passer rating of 99.5, highest by any opponent in the history of the Dallas Cowboys against the Cowboys. So Brees with a lot of success against this team, including a big game last year at the end of the season in Texas. And that pass is caught by Marcus Colston for a 1st down to the 32-yard line.
Well, good to have Marcus Colston back. Missed last week's game, and for Drew Brees and this offense, they got their obligatory run out on the first play. I was thinking, yeah, there's been so much pressure on these two teams because they barely ran it at all a week ago to come out and run the ball. So Drew Brees said, all right, here's the first one. Now let's go throw it around.
Saints run early, but not often. A lot of their running is done in the first quarter. From the 33-yard line, a little swing pass to Sproles, who suffered a concussion last week, but then passed the test on Monday, plays tonight. Church makes the stop. Let's take a look at the Cowboy defense.
George Selvey, South Florida.
Nick Hayden, Wisconsin.
Jarius Wynn, University of Georgia.
DeMarcus Ware, Troy University.
Justin Durant, Real HU, Hampton.
Sean Lee, Penn State.
Bruce Carter, North Carolina.
Brandon Carr, Grand Valley State.
Jeff Heath, Saginaw Valley State.
Barry Church, Toledo.
Orlando Scandrick, Boise State University.
That Cowboy defense, a lot of mixing and matching all season long, especially up front. And on the ground, a good run here by Pierre Thomas, who takes it out past the 40, and they will spot the ball very close to a 1st down. And they put it right at the 43-yard line, and it will be a 1st down.
There's big Charles Brown over there. He certainly is going to be helped against DeMarcus Ware if the Saints can continue to run the football like this. I'm sure the Dallas Cowboys were not anticipating at least this early run activity.
From the 43-yard line.
Kill, Mike 50. Ready.
Brees, good protection, deep down the sideline and incomplete. Marcus Colston skirting the sideline, covered there by Orlando Scandrick. It'll be 2nd down and 10.
Orlando Scandrick out here really getting a chance to play because Mo Claiborne has been injured, and he has really picked up his game over the last couple of games. Here's Charles Brown on the outside going against DeMarcus Ware. You wonder just how healthy that right thigh is. He did practice all week and said it felt good. A little different just coming into a game, though.
Ready.
Last time we saw him was the last time they were on Sunday night against Washington 4 weeks ago. Brees, after faking it, then throws, and the pass is dropped. That is Mark Ingram, who won the Heisman Trophy at Alabama. He's been hurt, toe injury in week 2, came back. He's been disappointing through his career to this point, and thus the Boo Birds are out right off the bat.
Yeah, Chris Ivory had the big game against them. They thought they traded the wrong guy, but here's Brandon Carr on the outside, and he's going to be matched up some against Jimmy Graham, who has become the all-world tight end. We'll talk about some of his numbers later on. Carr really feeling like, though, that he can get up on the line of scrimmage, get physical, and be effective against them.
Cowboys, after looking like they were going to blitz, Brees is able to get it off, but tackled at the 50-yard line is Thomas. So it was a 3rd and 10, and now it'll be 4th down and 3 from midfield.
And that was Everett Brown getting some pressure on the play. Just one of the 16 or 17 defensive linemen that they've run through here. Everett Brown really had no idea he was going to end up playing this kind of role, but I thought he played a big game last week in that one and got some pressure there.
17 is the exact number. 17 different defensive linemen this season employed or deployed by Dallas. Thomas Morstead the punt. Dwayne Harris having a tremendous year running back kicks and punts, and that one with backspin will bounce out of bounds at the 16-yard line. So Tony Romo goes to work from that spot when we come back to New Orleans. Vietnam veteran Rod Marinelli, the Cowboys defensive line coach, who has done just a spectacular job this season. As we say, 17 different defensive linemen. And now the first offensive play is DeMarco Murray going nowhere over the left side. Tackled by Ramon Humber. Against the Saints last year toward the end of the season at home for Tony, a phenomenal day. 4 touchdowns, no picks, 416 yards, but Breeze also had a phenomenal day, and the Saints won the game. 2nd and 11 from the 15. Set Witten up in the slot to the left in a tight formation. And Romo to the outside, and reaching up and making the catch is James Hanna. He'll get tackled at the 22-yard line by Humber. It'll be 3rd down and 4. And there is Rob Ryan, last year in Dallas as the defensive coordinator. Now in New Orleans, and they go no huddle to try to keep that same defensive personnel on the field. And from the 22-yard line, here goes Murray over the right side, and he won't pick up the first down. He's a yard short. So 2 runs, 1 pass, and it's a 3 and out for Dallas.
Well, you see what Dallas is doing right off the bat here. And Rob Ryan happy as he can be over that stop as well. But the Cowboys think one of the weaknesses of Rob Ryan when he was with the Dallas Cowboys was he wanted to adjust to every single motion and shift. So they've come out right to the line of scrimmage, a lot of shifts, a lot of motions to try and make them foul something up so they can hit a big play.
Left-footed punter Chris Jones will send it down to Darren Sproles. Sproles sits up at his own 30-yard line. And a high booming kick. Dropped at the 19-yard line, and there's a fight for the ball, and it would figure that Dwayne Harris would be right there, and he is the guy who recovers it. So Harris, who has had a spectacular year, running back kickoffs, running back punts, the gunner on punts by his own team, a classic case right there. He was the big hero 4 weeks ago in the Washington game. Sproles coughs it up, and Harris recovers it.
Absolutely unbelievable, isn't it? Dwayne Harris has been the NFC Special Teams Player of the Week every time he's been on Sunday Night Football this year, and starts with this. Just amazing, though, that for a guy that has fielded so many punts, Darren Sproles muffed and won that easy.
Sproles only his 2nd fumble since joining the Saints in 2011. So a guy who almost never fumbles has put Dallas in position at the Saints' 22-yard line. After that 53-yard punt, Murray goes to the outside, and Murray will get taken down to the 16-yard line by Akeem Hicks. Dallas running the ball already tonight 3 times last week. Take a look at that. In a game they won, they passed 54 times, or at least had 54 passing plays. There were 3 sacks there. They ran the ball only 9 times against Minnesota.
Yeah, offensive coordinator Bill Callahan said, I've heard a lot about it this week. That was about as far as he wanted to go with that comment.
That's a 6-to-1 ratio. And now they run it for a 4th time, so they've run it almost half the amount of times they ran it all of last week, and Murray gets stopped short of the first down. It'll be 3rd and 2.
But I think it's important to remember here that you're going up against Drew Brees. So the longer you can stretch this game out and running the football and burning clock in this building, the better off you are. Tony Romo said, if we're just down even 10 points going in the 4th quarter, I'm going to feel good about where we are. This is a tough place. We like Drew Brees sitting right there.
No better way to keep that clock going than to convert on third down, and right now Romo's going to take a timeout. With 8:27 remaining in the opening quarter, 3rd and 1 when we come back. Rob Ryan, Rex's twin brother at Dallas last year, now the Saints defensive coordinator. They've gotten a lot better. They couldn't be any worse than they were last year when they set an NFL record for most yards allowed in a season. And now his team, which stopped the Cowboys on an earlier third down, has a 3rd and 1 facing their defense from the 13-yard line after the Dallas timeout. And Romo on a roll and throws. There's a flag down, though. The play was stopped before the snap. Jerome Boger.
False start. Offense, number 84. 5-yard penalty. Still 3rd down.
That's James Hanna with the false start, making it 3rd down and 6 now.
Well, and what makes that even worse is they had the 1st down picked up. I mean, it was a nice play call. Obviously, their number 1 3rd and short play. And now it turns into a pass rush opportunity for Junior Gillette and others.
3rd and 6 from the 18. Four-man rush. Romo under pressure, extends the play, throws down the sideline, and it is incomplete. Flag is thrown. DeMarco Murray, the intended receiver. The flag is all the way back at the 28-yard line. Jerome Boger, who reffed the Super Bowl last year when the lights went out, signals a hold against Dallas. And now he'll see what the Saints want to do.
Holding. Offense, number 65. That penalty decline. 4th down.
Well, Dez Bryant's going to get the attention on the outside. Initially, this guy walked up and they had like a punt coverage double team on Dez. They backed out of that, but they clearly, that is target 1 for them defensively. So good stand there by Rob Ryan's bunch to live with the turnover and hold him to a field goal attempt.
37-yard attempt. Peyton could have opted to take the penalty, which would have made it 3rd and 16. Instead, he declines it, and Bailey bangs it through. So the fumble, the turnover, pays off for the Cowboys 3 points. Kick is taken by Cadet with the knee in the end zone, and now to the 20-yard line. Drew Brees will come out. Take a look at that. Last 20 home games, that's the equivalent of 2.5 seasons. Completing better than 2 or 3 passes, 69 touchdowns, only 16 picks. Only player in the history of the league over a span of 20 home games to throw 60 touchdown passes. Multiple TD passes each of his last 20 games. So Drew Brees, who has set a number of records, including most consecutive games with a touchdown pass, saw him do that last year on Sunday night against San Diego, will dump it off on a screen just before he would have been sacked, and Pierre Thomas picks up a yard. So Brees, under pressure, was able to get it away. 2nd down and 9. B.W. Webb put the pressure on.
You know, sometimes avoiding terrible plays is as important as making big plays there. That looked like it was going to be a sack all the way. Brees had his back turned to a blitzing cornerback coming off the edge, and yet somehow he sensed that and at least got it off and picked up a few yards.
From the pistol for the first time tonight. Hands the ball off on a 2nd and 8. And this will be Darren Sproles coming up a couple of yards shy of the first down. DeMarcus Ware making the tackle. It'll be 3rd and 3.
That looked like DeMarcus Ware that time. Watch him flying around the edge on this one. Now unblocked, but to see him run like that, that's always been the signature part of his game. And if you have to try and block that big guy on the backside, it's going to take away blocking from the front side. But he has been one of the great pass rushers, one of the great players in the NFL now for almost a decade.
Back after missing 3 games with the quad injury, and a conversion here to the 33-yard line as it's caught by Marcus Colston, who missed last week's game. with a balky knee, and under 7 minutes to go in the quarter, New Orleans picks up its third first down.
You know, you talk about all the great weapons, Jimmy Graham and all those guys, but Marcus Colston was out last week, and so was Darren Sproles, and it just looked like a different offense, didn't it? You know, those are kind of the guys that Drew Brees has over the years really counted on to make plays in clutch situations.
Ready, my shot.
From the 33-yard line. Play action. Buys a lot of time. And the pass out in the flat is taken by Pierre Thomas to the 37-yard line. That Saints passing offense, as you take a look at the matchup, a little bit of a mismatch here. Third in the league are the Saints at 318 yards a game, and the Cowboys are next to last in the league in pass defense, giving up over 305 yards through the air.
Like 50. Yellow 80. Ready, my shot.
On second down and 6, keeping it on the ground. Pierre Thomas out past the 40. That'll set up a 3rd and short.
You know, one of the things that's going to be fun to watch in this game is how Drew Brees and Sean Lee match up in this one. This has been one of those kind of matchups. Sean Lee has become, I think, almost universally considered one of the best, if not the best, inside linebacker in the game right now. Leads in tackles around the National Football League, leads in interceptions. And Drew Brees admitted he's a different guy playing against him. I've got to be on my game here.
3rd and 1, and Brees throws, and wide open is Marcus Colston. Knocked down by Jeff Heath, the rookie, who has to spell J.J. Wilcox at safety tonight. And a conversion on another 3rd down play for 21 yards.
Here we go right here. Sometimes when the corner reacts too quickly up to Darren Sproles in that case, leaves the opening in behind, and for Charles Brown, at least so far, he seems to be winning the pass rush battle.
Ready, my shot.
From the Cowboy 37-yard line to the outside, and another good run here by Thomas to the 31, tackled by Carter. Well, when they let Rob Ryan go, they brought Monty Kiffin in, longtime Tampa Bay defensive coordinator. Then he went with his son Lane to Tennessee for a year, then to USC for the last few years, and then on to Dallas. So Monty Kiffin in his early 70s, and he knows what it's like with Rod Marinelli, his defensive line coach. He has faced Drew Brees a number of times. 2nd down and 4. Thomas to the 21-yard line. Tackled by Bruce Carter. So good work on the ground. Thomas has carried the ball 5 times for 36 yards.
Well, here's Sean Lee right here, but it's going to be Jed Collins, the fullback, who's going to weave his way through here and get him pinned to the inside to spring Pierre Thomas for a bigger gain there. And this is going to be tough on the Cowboys. If they have to start bringing safeties down to help against the run, I don't know how you stop Drew Brees.
Well, Jimmy Graham, their great tight end, has not been in this series. And meanwhile, Brees leading him down the field, and open is Colston. Tries to break a tackle and does for the touchdown. So Graham or no Graham, Brees leads them 80 yards, 9 plays, 4 rushes, 5 passes, and the Saints take the lead.
Here they come. They did bring the safety down this time, and they didn't stop him. Nice block there by Darren Sproles, and when you bring the safety out of the middle and you get it blocked, there just is nobody there. Drew Brees up on those tiptoes, as he's been known to do, and I think he's happy to have Marcus Colston back.
Oh, well, it's only the 60th time that they've combined for a touchdown. The extra point is good by Garrett Hartley, an 80-yard drive, and the Saints, with 3:23 to go in the quarter, lead the Cowboys 7-3. New Orleans on this Sunday night. Veterans Day weekend. Saints marching down the field to take the lead. And now 6 yards into the end zone, Dwayne Harris, who's been fabulous on returns this season, out past the 20 and stays in bounds and gets thrown into the Saints bench as he reaches just about the 30-yard line. And Tony Romo now. Dallas still looking for its first down of the game as you look down Bourbon Street in the Big Easy. Well, that is Dwayne Harris, and he is still down. He was tackled, and in fact, they should have thrown a flag on it as you look at it again. Here goes Harris. He's going to get a foot out of bounds, and then he gets pushed by Reddick into Cam Jordan, the defensive lineman. Down goes Harris. This is about 2.5 to 3 minutes ago, and Harris is still down on the ground on the Saints bench.
And Cam Jordan, just trying to defend himself here, basically takes a shot with his elbow to Harris's head, and he has not gotten up since, and that is not right on many fronts. First of all, those players are supposed to be behind that yellow line, and they weren't there either.
Agreed, as Jason Garrett looks on. Well, Harris has gotten up and he's walking off under his own power. He's going to go back to the Cowboys locker room. What has he meant to this team? You look at that. He's second in the league in yards per kick return. Only Cordero Patterson of Minnesota tops him. Fourth in punt return. Special teams tackles 7. Big play already tonight for him as he recovered the Sproles fumble. And now he goes back to the locker room, and Michelle will get the report as soon as we can. So now Dallas first and 10 from the 28-yard line with Romo emptying the backfield and then throwing. Gain of 5, James Hanna. Let's take a look at the Cowboy offense.
Tony Romo, Eastern Illinois University.
DeMarco Murray, Oklahoma.
Dez Bryant, Oklahoma State.
Terrence Williams, Baylor.
Jason Witten, Tennessee.
James Hanna, Oklahoma.
Tyron Smith, USC.
Ronald Leary, University of Memphis.
Travis Frederick, Wisconsin.
Mackenzie Bernardo, Bentley.
Doug Freed, Northern Illinois University.
So Bryant, for the moment, he's over on the sideline. It's 2nd down and 5 from the 33-yard line. And they give it to Murray on a beautifully designed play into Saints territory, still on his feet, and Murray to the 33-yard line. So the Dallas Cowboys looking for some kind of a running game. It's been tough for them, and Murray is able to break one for a gain of 35.
This is exactly what happened to them last week in the game against the Jets. They got gouged off tackle, and you knew the Cowboys were going to come right back to it. And at least so far, Rob Ryan has opted to play a 4-3 defense out here tonight, and you just wonder how familiar these guys are with it.
With under 2 minutes to go in the quarter, that's the Cowboys' first down. Murray again to the 25, gain of 7. Here's the Saints defense.
Akeem Hicks, University of Regina, Saskatchewan.
Broderick Bonklin, Florida State University.
Cameron Jordan, UC Berkeley.
Junior Gervais Gillette, Port-au-Prince, Haiti.
David Hawthorne, TCU.
Curtis Lofton, Oklahoma.
Paris Harrelson, Tennessee.
Jabari Greer, Tennessee.
Kenny Vaccaro, Texas.
Raphael Bush, SC State University.
Keenan Lewis, Oregon State University.
That defense 5th against the pass, but 25th against the run. And on 2nd and 3, they'll feed Murray again. Keeps the legs moving, picks up the first down.
You know, one of the things that's happening here, I think, is that David Hawthorne, who earlier this week smashed his baby toe into the bedpost, as strange as that sounds for an NFL player, and he hasn't been able to practice, and at least thus far he hasn't been in there. So we've seen some of the backups in there playing this 4-3 defense. Ramon Humber and Will Herring have been getting the majority of the snaps here.
That's why you got to leave a light on, right?
Absolutely.
Half a minute to go in the quarter. Murray to the 19-yard line. So Murray tonight has already carried the ball 8 times. Mentioned last week they only ran the ball 9 times in the entire game.
Yeah, and one of the things that's happened, at least since the last time we've seen him, is that James Hanna, number 84, has taken over as the second tight end. They drafted Gavin Escobar, but Hanna's the better blocking tight end on the field, and so now he's getting the majority of the snaps.
Takes us to the end of the first quarter with the score. The Saints 7 and the Cowboys 3. And NBC's Sunday Night Football from New Orleans continues after these messages. Back to the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. Start the second quarter, 2nd and 9. Cowboys have it at the Saints' 19-yard line. Give it to Murray again. Inside the 10 for a first down. Gets taken down at the 7-yard line. Raphael Bush makes the tackle. So they run 9 times all last week. Murray's already run 9 times tonight for 71 yards.
And the surprising part for me is that they've got the 2 safeties back, basically despite the fact that the Cowboys are kind of running down their throat. Ronald Leary out in front of that one, leading the way. Cowboys have to be loving this. Milking the clock, keeping Breeze on the bench. This is perfect for them.
First and goal from the 7-yard line. Romo, a 3-step drop, and then the pass is high. Intended there for Terrence Williams, the good-looking rookie out of Baylor. It'll be 2nd down and goal.
There we go. We got the Calvin Johnson Superman coverage over here. Looks like they're defending a punt. They are not going to let Des Bryant beat them, and so now it is really incumbent upon Terrence Williams to win those one-on-one battles. We saw some of this double coverage against the Lions earlier this year, and unfortunately Terrence Williams did not have a good game against the one-on-one coverage. He needs to now. Cole Beasley in there now inside. He's the quicker guy. Number 11.
Set 3 receivers wide to the right on 2nd down and goal, and they just do get it off with Murray around the left side. Touchdown. DeMarco Murray carries it into the end zone, and they just did get the play off with the play clock at 0 on the snap.
Boy, Tyron Smith had to make a tough block on this one, getting outside and reaching here, this defensive end. That is among the toughest blocks. Good job by Jason Witten out there as well. But Tyron Smith, when he gets his hands on you, you're not going anywhere. That was great athletic block and so strong at the point of attack.
All scoring plays reviewed, of course. They looked upstairs. Boger waiting for the confirmation before the extra point. Well, I tell you what, that was very close to being a delay of the game. Look at the clock. We'll take a look at this on the replay. Clock is in. Ooh.
Well, remember what they do, though. They watch the clock, and after it turns 0, they look down, and if the ball's snapped, they're going to let it go. So there is a beat in between when it hits 0 and when they're going to call it.
Right on the edge. Extra point, good. Murray. Tremendous night thus far, and Dallas has the lead again, 10-7 in New Orleans. Travis Cadet downs it in the end zone, and we go back to Murray taking it in for the score.
Watch how far Tyron Smith has to come in order to get Paris Harrison here on the outside. Takes a very athletic guy, and then once you get there, to be able to hold that block is not easy. Tyron Smith is really becoming the ace offensive lineman on this team. They now feel comfortable sliding away from him so that he can handle the one-on-one blocks and help the other 4. Good player.
Made his debut at age 20, thus 3 years in the league. Only 22 is Breeze on first down. Winds up hitting Pierre Thomas for a gain of 6. Jimmy Graham is back in the game. Meanwhile, Sean Lee is a little gimpy as he starts to move over toward the Dallas sideline. Can't even get there.
Sean Lee's going to come up and try and make this tackle, and he kind of gets whipped around on the tackle. And may have, I'm not going to speculate at all, but he came up sort of grabbing that left leg from behind. Boy, I tell you, that's when this defense, Rob Ryan's probably over there going, yeah, try playing without him. That's what happened to me at the end of last year. All my linebackers, all my whole defense got hurt. And that's almost the equivalent of Tony Romo on the defensive side.
Yeah, he lost Lee last year, did Ryan, and Garrett about 6 games into the season with a toe injury, and that did it for Sean Lee. So he has to come off. And the Saints now 2nd down and 4. Justin Durant will move into that spot in the middle. Play action to the right side. Catch is made, and it's Ben Watson picking up a 1st down. 10th-year man picked him up from Cleveland. Let's go to Michelle.
Well, here's the update on Dwayne Harris. He is questionable with neck and shoulder injuries. What the Cowboys were able to tell us was that there's no concern of a concussion. So he's in the locker room being treated. Again, it's neck and shoulder questionable.
All right, thank you, Michelle. You can see the play on which he was hurt. Cam Jordan right there. He made contact with him after he was thrust out of bounds. There was no penalty on the play. And we'll see if he's able to get back into the game. Meanwhile, they put Collins in the game at fullback. Ingram is the running back, and they give it to Ingram. And Ingram will get handed around. He tries to keep it going, but is then surrounded by nothing but white shirts with blue numbers after a gain of a couple. 2nd and 8.
Well, it's always fun to watch great quarterbacks play the game, and there's Sean Lee over on the bench. And if you're a Dallas Cowboys fan, you can't have a bigger concern than that. But Drew Brees absolutely busted the Cowboys defense. I don't know exactly how he saw B.W. Webb coming on that corner blitz. He did, slowed it down, ended up checking off to a run away. It is hard to fool that guy either.
Running the ball a lot more tonight are the Saints. They do it again here. Sproles. And he gets taken down by Barry Church, the safety, before he can get untracked. It'll be 3rd down and 7.
You know, it's what makes watching these games so much fun, though. You analyze the previous week's games and you go, okay, I got a feel for what's going on out here. But already these teams now early in the 2nd quarter have more rushing yards than they had in the entire game last week. So, you know, there's always changes, and there's good news right there. Here comes Dwayne Harris back on the field.
And trotting back onto the field. 3rd down and 7. Breeze in the pocket, throws, caught in Dallas territory. The catch is made by Kenny Stills, the rookie 5th-round draft choice out of Oklahoma, who's played a big part in their offense this season, averaging over 22 yards a catch. That's good for 19.
You know, Kenny Stills has really become a huge playmaker for this team, averaging over 22 yards per catch, and that's tops in the NFL. And anytime you have that sort of deep cross ability, if there was a signature route, I'd say for the New Orleans Saints, that's it. Starting a receiver from the slot on one side of the field, bringing them across the field. Drew Brees throws that ball perfectly.
10.5 remaining in the 1st half. They're going to run a reverse to Sproles, coming back to the near side. And he takes the ball to the 42, but there is a flag down. Jerome this way. In either event, it's holding against New Orleans.
Offense, number 60. 10-yard penalty. Replay, 1st down.
That will be the center, Brian De La Puente. Meanwhile, Lee is going to go back to the Cowboy locker room.
To me, the signature part of this Cowboys defense is the way they hustle. Last week, there were 4 different times that defensive linemen made tackles at least 20 yards down the field. It is unacceptable on the Cowboys to not chase plays, and that's why they get so many turnovers this year.
1st and 20. Breeze. Sproles to the 46-yard line. Let's go to Michelle.
Well, Sean Lee is, I'm told on the field that Sean Lee is out for the game with a left hamstring. This is what the Dallas representatives on the field are telling me. Done for the night because of a left hamstring. He did have his helmet taken away from him, and he is on his way to the locker room, as you saw, Al.
Oh, you bet. Thank you, Michelle. And he can't even put any pressure on that left heel. So he goes back, 2nd down and 9 with the ball at the 46-yard line. And Breeze will throw, and that's going to be a 1st down as Sproles makes the catch. Bruce Carter makes the tackle. Gain of 11 to the 35-yard line.
Here's what makes it borderline unfair. I mean, Bruce Carter's a guy that runs about a 4.40, but there hasn't been anybody made yet that can cover Darren Sproles in a one-on-one matchup like that. And so they just put him out there, and if you're going to play man coverage or you're going to try and match a linebacker on him, Drew Brees will not look at anybody else.
From the 35-yard line. Thomas cutting it back. Mark Ingram cutting it back. And Ingram almost got to the 20, and then he's thrust back. The forward progress will net him the 1st down. It's been a very frustrating time for Ingram. Flag is down after the play, and so a little demonstration there by Ingram. And let's see if that draws the foul or not. Jerome Boger will discuss this. So Ingram had the 1st down. Forward progress will net it. But was there a demonstration by Ingram to the point that it drew the flag?
After the play, delay of game, offense, number 22. 5-yard penalty, still 1st down.
Well, in effect, that is what it is, what the call is. It's not as bad as unsportsmanlike conduct or a major 15-yard penalty. But by fooling around with the ball at the end of the play, it's not ready for play right away, and they call delay of game.
Watch Everett Brown try and play the stretch and get in front of it, and then Ernie Sims just simply overruns it as well. Ingram cuts it all the way back. You know, it's funny, sometimes defenses can hustle too much, and that little thing there, I don't know. You know, it's an emotional game. Ask Des Bryant. It's crazy out there, you know, and sometimes if you're not playing with those kinds of emotions, and for Ingram, he's made some big plays, and he's like, still going to be sitting on the bench.
So it's after he picked up the 1st down. Thus it makes it 1st down and 15, and the pass to the outside is caught by Kenny Stills. Brandon Carr with the coverage. And 8:20, Jimmy Graham is right there. Graham has 10 of the 22 touchdowns that the Saints have scored this season, but bothered by the foot injury, so he's been in and out. He comes back in here with a little bit more than 8 to play in the half.
Been playing with that bad foot this entire season. Clearly can't run like he used to, but that body's so big, he can just get that rebound position and make plays.
Former basketball player, University of Miami. He knows how to rebound. Looks coming, pass has gotten away, and there is Graham, and before he can get wrestled down, that's a 1st down. Takes Jeff Heath for a ride.
Well, one of the problems for Jeff Heath is you got to play off of this guy. He's back here. They're going to come with a blitz. You got to play back off of him, but then you got to try and tackle him somehow. I mean, he's 6'7" and so athletic, and so Breeze between really Jimmy Graham and Darren Sproles, that's where the majority of their offense has gone this year. They just keep throwing it underneath. They haven't even needed their wideouts.
Graham at 265, and Heath trying to make the tackle, 209. And now you've got Ingram bouncing off Cowboys at the line of scrimmage, and just barely gets across the line of scrimmage.
Well, Ernie Sims, I think, a little frustrated and a little fired up out there. He kind of threw a right hook at the end of that play trying to get Ingram on the ground. He was upset about the one prior. Here's Sims here. Watch him take this big sort of right hook, trying to make this tackle. Boom, just missed. Looked like Joe Frazier.
2nd and 9 from the 15. Breeze, and flag is thrown in the end zone. Barry Church was there with Benjamin Watson and Jerome Boger to make the call. You've got 2 flags down at the 5-yard line.
The worst part is Barry Church didn't even have to do that. He thought he had no help, but he did have help.
Prior to the pass, holding. Defense, number 42. 5-yard penalty, automatic, first down.
Ben Watson's going to give him a little bit of a double move. Right out here is Church, and so he ends up just tripping him, but you can see, I think that's Heath coming over the top, so he would have had some help there. He just felt like that if he didn't make that tackle, it was going to be a walk-in touchdown.
Puts the ball just inside the 10-yard line. It's 1st and goal. Cowboys on top, 10-7. Dallas trying to stay on top in the NFC East. Philadelphia won today. They're 5-5, so the Cowboys would be tied with the Eagles. They've already beaten them in their 1 meeting thus far this season. Saints trying to go to 7-2. And through the middle, and still moving inside the 5 is Pierre Thomas. Takes it to the 2-yard line. 2nd down and goal.
One of the unsung heroes, their center, Brian De La Puente, a guy that just has a way of hanging around. Of course, took over for Olin Kreutz around here a long time, and I don't know that expectations were very big for that free agent, but he has held that job, and this offense continues to click.
And Breeze feeding it to Thomas. He gets stopped at the 2-yard line. Nick Hayden right there. It'll be 3rd and goal for the Saints.
Boy, that was some play by George Selvey coming down. He got his knees clipped and just kept coming. What a remarkable story he is. 6 sacks on the season. Who would have believed that he would have had the significance he's had for the Dallas Cowboys this year? Just continues to hustle and make plays and gives them a chance now on 3rd down.
This is the 15th play of this drive. It's 3rd and goal from the 2. Ware got there too late. Touchdown, Pierre Thomas from Breeze. DeMarcus Ware bearing down on Drew Brees. He just didn't get it away.
It's kind of one of those swinging screens here. Zach Strief is going to pull out and around, and they're just going to float the ball out to him. I don't think he got downfield, but he was definitely headed in that direction. Pretty creative play call that time by Sean Payton.
Breeze got up shaking his right hand, his throwing hand. The extra point is good. He really took a shot from Ware as he got it away. But the Saints have the lead again, 14-10 with 5:09 to go in the half. Well, Tom Benson has owned the Saints since 1985, and Jerry Jones has owned the Cowboys since 1989. Two of the clearly most influential owners in the league through the years, as the kickoff is fielded by Dwayne Harris. So Dwayne Harris, who was hurt, was down for about 4 minutes, went back to the locker room. Flag is down, returns the kick to the 17-yard line. And a little tussle.
It's a big game for these two teams. First place on the line for the winner, and a tie for first place for the loser.
During the return, illegal block in the back. Return, number 58. Half distance to the goal. Dallas keeps the ball. First down.
Well, Breeze really took that shot from Ware at the end of the touchdown pass and needs some attention. Rob Ryan's been with several teams as a defensive coordinator, defensive assistant. Monty Kiffin, of course, made his mark with Tampa. Won a Super Bowl with them in '02. Jason Garrett told us last night, he was the guy, he had to fire Ryan. He said, I've never had to fire somebody I really liked. But that is the case. And then he was picked up by Sean Payton, who said, I really didn't even know Ryan. But Steve Spagnuolo was here last year. The defense gave up more yardage than any defense in history. Had to make the change, and Ryan comes in. One of the many subplots in tonight's game. From the 7-yard line. DeMarco Murray picks up 1. So when you look back at last year, despite the injuries and all that, Ryan did a pretty good job, especially before the injuries, but they had to make the change.
Well, you know, there was a debate really within Dallas. You know, Rob brings a lot of, you know, exotic blitzes, and they get after the quarterback and they make big plays on the defense, but sometimes they give up big plays. And I think they wanted something a little more predictable in Dallas. And for Sean Payton, he loved having the unpredictability with his offense and the way they score points. Take your shots, make big plays. If you give up a touchdown, we'll get it back. Don't worry about it.
The Cowboys wanted it simpler, and they wanted more takeaways. And they certainly gotten more takeaways this season as Terrence Williams goes to the ground and the pass is low. So under Ryan, 24th in points allowed this year, 15th under Kiffin, but in yards allowed, it's a different story. Next to last under Kiffin this year in passing yards allowed. But takeaways last year near the bottom of the league and this year near the top of the league. So it's a real mixed bag as you look at those numbers.
And ordinarily, you'd think with one of the Ryan brothers, here comes the blitz. But a lot of times what they do is they send defensive backs to make it look like a blitz, drop out defensive linemen. Probably 4, maybe 5 will come out of this, but no more.
Crowd roaring on a 3rd and 8. Romo buying time and just throws it into the Saints bench. Nobody open. Coverage was excellent, and it's a 3 and out from inside their 10-yard line.
They hold amoeba defense, but you try and guess who's coming out of this bunch. And this is what it looks like to offensive linemen. They're just coming from all different directions. And if one guy messes up, then you get pressure on your quarterback. He's standing back there in the end zone, can't give up a safety. Defense wins.
So the Cowboys running the ball tonight, but they can't throw it there. Romo is 2 out of 6 for 12 yards as we approach halftime. Jones's punt. Fielded at the 42 by Sproles. He takes it back to the 48-yard line. 4:01 left in the opening half in New Orleans, with the Saints leading the Cowboys by 4. Back in July, it looked like the Cowboys would have a very formidable front four. Where Ratliff's now in Chicago, Hatcher inactive tonight. Spencer is on injured reserve. Did not take the field together during training camp. Rod Marinelli has seen 17 different defensive linemen playing for no other team this season more than 12, and 13 of these guys are in their first year with the Cowboys.
It's been a remarkable run, and Rod Marinelli, you talk to those coaches over there within that staff, they think he should be coach of the year.
Ready.
And now he has to play the rest of the game without Sean Lee, out with a hamstring pull. The middle linebacker as Breeze throws, and that is caught by Colston at the 31-yard line. Marcus Colston, after missing that one game last week, has caught 5 for 74 yards and a touchdown tonight.
Signature play is roll away and throw back across the field. The defense shifts just a little bit. Remember, Sean Lee is the quarterback of this defense. Everything now changes over there on those reads, and ever since Sean Lee's gone out of the game, it has been almost nothing but passes from Drew Brees.
And here comes another one from the pocket, over the middle. Graham gains 7 to the 25. Let's go back to the hit by Ware as Brees gets a shot from Ware, and it winds up as a touchdown pass. But take a look at Ware coming in.
Just goes right around Charles Brown, and that's the kind of shot you remember as a quarterback, because, I mean, that's a play you're not supposed to get hit on. But Ware was so fast around, and Drew Brees was not going to give him the satisfaction of thinking that he hurt him, although he did.
Brees has completed 16 in a row, and now he's going to get sacked at the 35, and he had DeMarcus Ware coming in, the first guy to make contact, and that would figure.
Well, DeMarcus Ware is just beginning to dominate Charles Brown. This little spin move here, watch him coming right through the slot, and when he starts to feel good, and you can tell now, maybe he was testing that leg a little bit early, but Charles Brown replacing Jamon Bushrod on that left tackle position is going to have his hands full.
Bushrod went to Chicago as a free agent. That's where his 5th sack of the year. 3rd and 12 from the 34. 4-man rush. Breeze has a lot of time, and that's a first down. Lance Moore on a play when they need 12. Moore gets 13, and that takes us to the 2-minute warning at the Superdome. Ware back on the sideline. And the Saints leading 14-10 over the Cowboys.
They can play anything on the streets of New Orleans, can't they?
We've heard it all.
This place is just, you can't be in a bad mood down here unless you're DeMarcus Ware, who's over there trying to work on that right thigh.
He was stretching it out. Meanwhile, Kyle Wilbur takes his place. A little screen is set up, but coming in and busting that up is Justin Durant. He could see that coming. Pierre Thomas making the catch. It's a loss of 3.
Well, and that's what happens when DeMarcus Ware is sitting over on the sideline. You have to start bringing some pressure. Almost have no choice right now. Nice play by Durant.
Timeout taken by Dallas. New Orleans dominating, especially in this quarter, dominating in passing yardage tonight. Breeze is thrown for 170 yards, and Romo's thrown for 12. It is 2nd down and 13 now from the 23-yard line. Saints with all of their timeouts, swinging to the outside, trying to get around the corner, and turning what looked like no gain into a nice little game with a flag coming in at the end was Pierre Thomas, and Ware was reaching for the back of his leg again. Jerome Bolger indicating the call's going to go against Dallas.
Foul, grabbing the face mask. Defense, number 32. Half the distance to the goal. Automatic. First down.
That's Scandrick, so it'll be 1st and goal after the flag. And let's go back and look at Ware.
Well, here's DeMarcus Ware right there, and if you think the face mask is bad news, that is worse. That means DeMarcus Ware is just not right over there. There's Scandrick, and this is such a significant part of the game now for this defense. Somehow they need to hold Drew Brees to a field goal. They get the ball to start the 2nd half.
Without Sean Lee and without DeMarcus Ware now. 1st and goal. Swing pass to the outside. That's 19 straight completions. Sproles making the catch. That's 19 passes in a row completed by Brees. The NFL record is 24. Donovan McNabb did it over 2 games in 2004. And Matt Schaub did it in 1 game last season.
I was part of one, and with Kenny Anderson in Cincinnati. I can't remember the exact number, but he held the record for a little while too.
Timeout taken by Dallas here with 1:42. And it'll be 2nd down and goal.
I think they are now acknowledging what kind of game this is going to be without Sean Lee. It's going to be go get him, Tony Romo. Here you go, because as so often happens in this game, you stay competitive, you want to run the ball, you have success running the ball, but you can't stay with it because of the avalanche of points that Drew Brees and this offense can put on the board.
Thomas is the running back.
Kill it. Ready, my shot.
Off play action. Out of time. And then incomplete in the back of the end zone. Benjamin Watson, the tight end. Ernie Sims covering. It'll be 3rd down and goal.
I tell you, I don't think Jimmy Graham's right either right now, because when he's not in the ball game down here on the goal line, this is the signature part of what he does.
No question.
That is not a good sign on that side of the field. So we've got some superstars sitting and watching in key situations here.
Yeah, Graham has been in on fewer than half the plays. Meanwhile, Ware comes back in for Dallas. It's 3rd down and goal. They're going to run it to the left side and taking it into the end zone. Darren Sproles for the touchdown. Another long drive in terms of plays. They have run 40 plays tonight have the Saints to 17 for Dallas.
Watch De La Puente right here get out and around and get Everett Brown hooked. That really was the key. You know, so many times you think you just have to worry about Sproles coming out of the backfield in a passing situation, which that usually is for the Saints down here. This time give it to him and score.
Garrett Hartley with the conversion with 1 minute and 32 seconds remaining in the half. 21-10 Saints. Thomas Morstead will kick off. Cowboys are going to get the ball without a timeout. 92 seconds left in the half. And they will start from the 20-yard line. Well, it's been all Drew Brees tonight in that offense with 175 yards and trying to set an NFL record for most consecutive completions. And Romo, 2 of 6. Mr. Rob Ryan must feel pretty good about those numbers.
You know, and 3 of those points were a gift on the muff punt. So really they had the one long drive where basically they were running the football with DeMarco Murray, and that was that. And on the other side, they're doing a little work on Drew Brees.
Yeah, talked about him shaking his hand after he took that shot from where, came back in, didn't seem to affect him on that last drive, but needs some work on the sideline.
This is the set they used to go 90 yards to win the game last week against the Vikings at the end.
And that pass is caught up at the 28-yard line by Jason Witten. So only tight ends have caught passes tonight. 2 to Hannah, a reserve tight end, and that one to Witten. No catches by wideouts or running backs for Dallas. 2nd and 2 from the 28. And Romo guns it, tipped and incomplete. Corey White got a hand on it. Pass was intended for Terrence Williams. 3rd and 2.
Well, one of the reasons you haven't heard a lot from Des Bryant is, as Rob Ryan told us, he said, we are going to be in his face all night. There's Keenan Lewis, their big free agent signing on the outside, a little double team help over the top. Sort of like Bill Belichick likes to do, make somebody other than your star beat you.
Dallas going 5 wide on 3rd and 2. And that pass is incomplete. That's broken up. Corey White got a hand on it again. It's 2 for White, intended for Cole Beasley. And now you still have 61 seconds. The Saints are going to get the ball, and they have all of their timeouts.
Well, this Corey White the last couple of weeks has been making some plays. This is a tough assignment. Cole Beasley is so quick, and he had some nice plays a week ago, but that is a saver. And now you're really in a precarious position if you're this Dallas defense.
Chris Jones. His 3rd punt of the night. Fair catch called for, made to the 25-yard line by Darren Sproles. So Drew Brees has 3 timeouts, 53 seconds remaining, and we'll start with a 1st and 10 from the 25-yard line.
You know, at least so far, Des Bryant is kind of keeping his cool over there on that sideline, but he is obviously frustrated. Nobody wants to be in a position where you're just taken out of a game. You're on national television, or your star, and he's already coaching them up over there a little bit with a few suggestions.
So Brees, who had 19 straight completions before the incomplete pass in the end zone, takes it from the gun on the 25-yard line, pass over the middle, and that is caught by Jimmy Graham for a short gain.
You know, they really are. Only when they're planning on throwing it, Jimmy Graham is out more often than not on run plays, but now they've got this hurry up going. He's back in there.
2nd and 4, and that pass is caught over the middle. Brees loves to work that middle. Sproles makes the catch, and they will take a timeout now with half a minute to go in the half.
You know, this season has really been all about the biggest and the smallest on this offense. There they are, side by side, but it's been a little bit of a shift. Much fewer passing along to the outside and much more on the inside to these two guys, because no matter what you do, if you want to play those safeties back there in the middle of the field, somebody's going to have to cover one of those guys one-on-one, and not many people can do that.
Breeze 23 of 26 tonight. 192 yards. First down throws. Staying in bounds to pick up the extra yardage before he steps out. He gets the first down, does Sproles. 25 seconds. Took only 5 seconds. 11-yard gain on that play.
And there's the problem right there. DeMarcus Ware really has sort of become a one-man pass rush unit out there, and you can tell he's just uncomfortable driving off that right leg. Now he moves to the other side. Maybe this will be easier for him.
Number 47 over the middle, easy for Colston to get free. Inside the 30 to the 28-yard line he goes, and they take their second time out with 19 seconds.
Well, I hate to say this, but this looks like what the Cowboys defense looked like last year without Sean Lee. You know, I mean, he's the quarterback. He's the guy making those calls, and he's also one of the best cover linebackers in the game today. And now you take him out of the mix, and now they just start wearing out the middle of the field around an offense built with the two guys that are so tough over the middle of the ball.
Well, the Cowboy defense has already yielded 222 passing yards tonight. Saints have 292 yards just before the half. I mean, they're on a pace to gain 600 yards from the 28-yard line. Breeze to the end zone and incomplete into traffic. Lance Moore, that's surrounded by 3 Cowboys. 13 seconds and second down.
Boy, Sean Lee would have been proud of that play by Justin Durant. Watch this play. He's got to run all the way down the field. This is 30-plus yards down the field against Lance Moore. Gets his hand in there right at the last moment. I tell you, Jeff Heath almost came up with that ball. Or somebody did almost.
So second down, but more importantly, 13 seconds. 1 timeout left from the 28-yard line. Little swing pass to Sproles. Sproles inside the 20, and Sproles is going to go all the way to the end zone. Just a little swing pass from the 28, and they couldn't even stop him in field goal range. They let him go all the way to the end zone, 27-10.
Well, let's give some credit not only to the offensive line, not only Darren Sproles, but if you're going to score on a screen from 30 yards out, those wide receivers made some key blocks down the field. That was perfectly done.
Garrett Hartley for the point after. So Breeze got it back with all of his timeouts in about a minute. And that's 320 yards for the Saints tonight, 100 for the Cowboys.
Defensive line gets sucked in on the screen. Perfectly blocked down the field. Marcus Colston with a good block. Lance Moore with a good block down the field. And a touchdown. And I tell you, I have seen this avalanche before, haven't we? It seems like on Sunday Night Football, teams hang around, and then all of a sudden it's just whoosh. That not getting that third down for the Dallas Cowboys, that 3rd and 2, you could almost tell then. It was like, uh-oh, here we go. You gave them one more chance before the half, and that was a mistake. They were going to get the football down 11 at worst. Can't give Drew Brees too many shots.
So with 5 seconds left, Cowboys will get the ball to start the second half. But in a huge hole. Beasley's going to take it from the 23-yard line and run it back to the 34, and that will do it. At one point, the Saints were down 10-7. Now the Saints lead 28-10. Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, the show for you. Sunday Night Football from New Orleans. Dwayne Harris, who looked like for all the world that he would be out for the rest of the game and maybe longer after he took that shot on the sideline in the first half. He was able to come back after they checked him out. Will return this one from about 4 yards deep. And Harris, one of the tops in the league at running back kicks and punts, is smothered at the 21-yard line, and we go down to Michelle.
Well, a rough first half for the Dallas Cowboys. They lost linebacker Sean Lee, out with a hamstring injury for the remainder of the night. DeMarcus Ware has been hobbled by that right thigh injury. He's been a little bit slow out there, although there's no official injury update. We have seen him stretching out that leg. Jason Garrett, though, his priority on offense is converting a third down. They were 0 for 4 on third down in the first half. He said, if we're going to keep any drive alive, we've got to convert on third down.
All right, thank you, Michelle. And they barely had the ball. I mean, they've only run 20 plays. And the majority of those on that one drive that resulted in a touchdown by that man, DeMarco Murray, who got off to a great start and has given them some semblance of a running game, but they have had nothing through the air tonight. First half numbers all one-sided. Look at the passing yardage.
Looks like a misprint, doesn't it? Looks like we left a digit out there.
320 yards to 100. And 46 plays by the Saints to 20. 2nd and 7. No gain for DeMarco Murray. He gets taken down by Broderick Bunkley right in the middle of the action to make it 3rd down and 7.
Well, with the way they're playing on the back end, Broderick Bunkley and company now can start to attack this running game a little bit. Cowboys tried to come out with their 3 tight end formation and just play a little power football. That didn't work. Now you're going to get the full arsenal from Rob Ryan. Now you don't know what you're going to get. Here comes the blitz, I'm sure.
Well, Miles Austin, hamstring pull. He's out 3 straight games. Bryant hasn't caught a pass tonight. They've been doubling him all over the place. Swinging to the outside, caught by Witten, but for a loss. Flag down. Chris Carr. Romo trying to get Boger to call defensive holding.
Illegal hands to the face. Defense, number 32. 5-yard penalty. First down.
And that's good enough for Tony. Results in a first down. What would have been a 4th and 9.
Well, the official thought it was funny. I don't think Vaccaro thought it was too funny. There we go. Right up there. I don't know if that may have been Jabari Greer up there instead.
Yeah.
I think Vaccaro was the inside guy.
Well, on Beasley, got Beasley with hands to the face. First down at the 28-yard line. And Romo checks it off to Beasley. Cole Beasley makes the catch up to the 46-yard line. So they gained more yardage on that one pass than they had to that point total passing tonight, 18 yards.
Well, Beasley's doing a nice job, and he kind of hung with this, but the reason that he had so much time to run that route, there was nobody around Tony Romo. That was perfect protection, and that's what he needs now.
And going without a huddle. From the 46. Over the middle, it's caught by Dwayne Harris, his first grab of the night. Harris gets taken down to the 47-yard line. Gain of 1. Curtis Lofton making the hit.
Well, for Des Bryant, look how far back they have a safety here. They're going to play him man underneath and have that help over the top, so there really isn't much of anywhere to go with that. Sometimes you can motion a wide out in. Sometimes you can help them with some stack or bunch formations. You want to get them involved. Or maybe they just think we'll decoy him out there and let our inside guys go to work.
Romo going empty again on 2nd down and 9. And going deep downfield for Bryant, but too deep. Again bracketed. And it will be 3rd down and 9.
Well, that's really the first time that they had changed the coverage. That was a brilliant read that time by Tony Romo. They actually bracketed the inside receiver. Not sure exactly how he saw it. He had the right guy. So the safety ends up helping inside. He's got a wide open Des Bryant, and they missed it. That was expensive.
On a 3rd down and 9, Romo under pressure. Sacked at the 40-yard line. Glenn Foster, rookie out of Illinois, in there.
Well, there's Des on the outside again. They're not going to let him beat him a second time down the field. Double coverage there. Jason Witten on the inside. Vaccaro jumps out there on him. But really the pressure that time came over Doug Free. And then Romo saw that. He just sort of dropped his head and started scrambling.
So a nice start to that drive with 2 first downs, and you've got action before the punt, so that play is dead at the outset. Will cost Dallas 5 yards.
False start. Offense, number 59. 5-yard penalty. Still 4th down.
Boy, if you'd have told me the Cowboys were going to have this much trouble throwing the ball in this game, I'd have said there's just no way. And Dez now offering up a few suggestions over there himself. I think Romo thought they were going to have a pretty healthy game out here throwing the ball tonight, but so far, not so much.
Jones's punt, fair caught by Darren Sproles at the 17-yard line. 10:57 to go in the 3rd quarter. Saints trying to go to 7-2, up by 18. Mark Ingram breaks one over the right side out to the 32-yard line. Tackled finally by Barry Church, and their first offensive play of the half is a gain of 14.
Jed Collins starting to get downhill now with some of these blocks. He's starting to get 3-4 yards down the field, and that's given Ingram a chance to make some plays. And I'm sure for Mark Ingram, this is a nice opportunity for him. Chris Ivory, the guy who was traded to the New York Jets, kind of picked apart this Saints defense a week ago, and a lot of people were screaming, why did you trade him? You should have traded Ingram this week.
Mike 5-4.
Saints have scored a touchdown on each of their last 4 possessions. And another big run. Ingram again. And the Heisman Trophy winner from a couple of years back to the 32-yard line, finally run down by Jeff Heath. That's a gain of 34.
Well, who do you want to feature? How about Jari Evans on this one? They're going to come out, little block, and then get up on Bruce Carter here, and there's just nobody there. I mean, Jed Collins knocks out the other fullback, and this defense is just on their heels right now without their leader.
From the 33. On the ground again. This time it's Thomas for a gain of 3.
Al, I really think DeMarcus Ware should come out of the game at this point. You know, here's the one star player that you have left on your team, and watching him play, I mean, he is just dragging this leg around. He's protecting it. He's doing everything he can,
sure,
but he just can't pick it up, you know, and at some point, God bless him for trying, but you can't lose him for the rest of the year.
He's hanging in there again. He's trying to get around the corner, and he gets to Breeze, and he forces Breeze to throw an incomplete pass.
You know, he's remarkable.
He is.
He really is. You have to admire the courage of a guy. He came in here. Remember a few years ago when he came in here with that neck injury, and everybody said there's no way he can even play, and he just tore Drew Brees up. Here he is. You can see him limping. You can tell that he just can't drive off that leg. And for Charles Brown, good thing he's not healthy.
Yeah, that was a remarkable night when he came back. The Saints at that point with 13-0, looking at an undefeated season, and Ware got healthy enough to play, played great, and Dallas won the game. 3rd down and 7 from the 32. And Breeze finds the open man, and it's Jimmy Graham to the outside. He got by Barry Church and picks up a first down.
I really think one of the most underestimated part of Drew Brees' game is just pure arm strength. A guy that when he gets in this sort of environment, inside, dry football, everything is right, he can load up and make some throws that are just zingers down the field.
And right on target, too. 27 out of 32. Now you have a flag.
12 men in the formation. Defense. 5-yard penalty. Still first down.
I don't blame him at all. Good try.
All right, quickly to Michelle.
Well, Justin Durant has cramps. He went back to the locker room to get an IV, and this is a Dallas defense that's already hurting at linebacker. Can't afford this, Al.
No. Absolutely not.
Al Bosworth in there now.
Yeah, the beat goes on. Bosworth 58. Ingram is the running back here. First down and 5 from the 14-yard line.
Ready? You ready? My shot.
To the 13-yard line. It'll be second down and 4. Kyle Wilbur makes the tackle. So for Monty Kiffin, the first year as the Dallas defensive coordinator, 4,156 yards over a 10-game span, counting this one. A dubious mark. Second and 5. Brees throwing to the end zone. Caught. No. Caught and then dropped. Benjamin Watson was there. It looked like he was able to hold on. He is still down. Had it, and then finally at the last minute coming in, I think it was Jeff Heath who was able to get there just as the ball got there and bat it away. And Watson still down. So it'll be 3rd and 5 when we come back. And just now, a couple of seconds ago, is when Benjamin Watson, the tight end, was able to at least sit up. And we go back to the near touchdown, but then he couldn't hold on and hits his head on the ground.
Yeah, I can tell you the worst concussions that I had as a player were exactly like that. Your arms sort of get pinned into your side, and your head, when you hit, sort of whips against the ground. And it's unbelievable that out of all the huge hits that you take, sort of helmet to helmet stuff, that those end up being the worst, but they are.
Ben Watson started with New England, been in the league a long time now, 10 years. Then to Cleveland, came over here as the free agent this year.
Remember what Sean was saying about him, that usually free agent tight ends, they can either block or they can catch, but you don't find the guys that can do both. He said he was a rare guy. We were excited to get him because he was a good blocker and a good receiver.
So it took a while, but good news is he gets embraced by Jimmy Graham, their number 1 tight end, of course. And take a look at Drew Brees in midair as he launches this one.
It's just a remarkable throw. I think he really intended to throw that one. Pump fake, brought it back, and basically his legs were the wrong way. He had, instead of his left leg in front of his right, he had his right in front of his left and still put it right on the money. That's when you know you're hot.
And then he had Everett Brown in his face as well. So halfway through the 3rd quarter, as play resumes, the ball is at the 14. 3rd and 5.
Well, it just looks like the play is going to work when he's calling it in there, doesn't it?
Especially on 3rd down. There he is. He's perfect on 3rd down. 3rd and 5. He's 27 out of 33 tonight. Gets it away. Has the first down, but there's a penalty. For the moment, Marcus Colston makes the catch. But the flag down where offensive holding is normally called.
Yeah, I think this is going to be interesting.
Illegal hands to the face. Offense, number 71. 10-yard penalty. Replay, third down.
All right, that's the first cousin to Holden.
Yeah, and Charles Brown's having a really rough night. There goes Watson off the field. Been getting beat around the corner on the outside rush, and that time they went inside of him and just trying to keep his quarterback healthy. You know, that has been the issue so far for the New Orleans Saints this year, if there is one. It is, they haven't been able to run it great, been doing much better obviously here tonight. Protection, we've seen Breeze get hit more than he has in the past, but he just keeps finding a way.
And a timeout is taken here by the Saints with 7:13. So, you know, you look at Breeze and you look at Sean Payton. These two guys just have a mind meld, and they have ever since Drew came here as a free agent. Miami passed on him in 2006. City is recovering from Katrina. It's crazy. And a lot of people thought the franchise would leave. They stayed. They hired Payton. Payton got Breeze. They were contenders right off the bat, and of course won the Super Bowl after the 2009 campaign.
You know, and Drew was saying that on game day, I want to think like Sean Payton does. And he goes, it's remarkable how many times we were against the Buffalo Bills and it was a 3rd and long, and I ran over to tell him what play I wanted. And sure enough, at that same moment, he was saying that play in the headset. He goes, it's unbelievable now. As much time as we've been together, I can almost think like him on the field.
2 bodies, 1 brain. 3rd and 15. Dump it off underneath. Pierre Thomas. And he can get to the 19-yard line. So it'll be 4th down right now. And they will settle for a 3-point attempt. So they had 4 consecutive drives that resulted in touchdowns. And now they'll have to settle for a field goal attempt.
Well, that's really all you can ask for if you're the Dallas Cowboys at this point, to hold them to a field goal. And Tony Romo in this offense, they've got to get something going. I mean, this has been a bit embarrassing so far.
Garrett Hartley, 37-yarder. Kicked a career-long 55-yarder last week, and he misses. He had missed 3 in a row, including 1 last week from 43. Makes one from 55, misses this one from 37. 28-10 it remains. Well, you all know Sean Payton was suspended because of Bountygate last year. Could not only be around the facility, he could not have contact with anybody from the National Football League. So he went back to his offseason home in Dallas. He said the first 3 to 4 weeks were the hardest. He said the emotions were all over the place. Started out angry, was very upset reading some of the stuff that he said was complete crap. But he goes back to Dallas and winds up, while he's in Dallas, helping to coach his son's 6th grade football team.
Made it to the Super Bowl. He was fired up. He was breaking that game down like it was the real Super Bowl.
1st and 10 from the 27-yard line. A screen to the tight end Hannah. That goes nowhere. Tackle is made by Ramon Humber. Liberty Christian School outside of Dallas, and there it is. There's the team photo, the 6th grade football team. Imagine those kids. There's Connor. The kid's going home. Hey, who's coaching the offense? Sean Payton. Sean Payton? Are you kidding?
I mean, he doesn't have any better plays than that. Come on. But he got a little lesson in coaching youth football, too. Sometimes you have to, there are a few tears after the game. Sometimes you got to keep it a little simple. But he had a great time doing it.
2nd and 11 from the 26-yard line. Tough year for the Saints on every level last year. Wound up going 7-9 after starting 0-4. Swing pass to Murray, and Murray takes it out to the 31-yard line where Junior Gillette makes the tackle.
You know, it is interesting that in watching these two offenses go at it. Kind of the tiebreaker for me is a Darren Sproles, you know, the guy that can just give you those catch and run kind of yards. Here in the 3rd and 5, Darren Sproles is the guy that you would just sort of look for. And DeMarco Murray's become a pretty good receiver coming out, but he doesn't have that catch and make one guy miss for the 1st down kind of element.
Can Dallas finally convert a 3rd down? 0 for 5. 3rd down here, and no, it's almost intercepted, and they're lucky that wasn't picked off and run all the way back. Jabari Greer got in front of Witten, and it's 4th down.
Boy, he almost got caught with the trap coverage. They showed the man coverage off and inside. Over here, look how far he is, so he knows this is going to be open, right? Not so much. Here comes the corner right off the edge, and Romo just never saw it. Lucky that wasn't a pick six. That is a signature Rob Ryan coverage right there.
Chris Jones averaging 50 yards a punt. This is his 5th of the night. 50 yards tonight, and it's a bouncer that bounces from the 27 down to the 15. There's a flag down as Sproles brings it back to the 18-yard line. Jerome Boger making his first visit back here since the lights went out in the Super Bowl last year.
You don't think Rob will have a little fun with this one, do you?
Doing the kick, unsportsmanlike conduct, receiving team, number 41. The defender went out of bounds and blocked the fire while he was out of bounds. 15-yard penalty. I'm sorry. Half the distance to the goal. New Orleans keeps the ball. First down.
All right, 4:55 remaining in the third. 28-10 Saints. Halloween revisited here, huh?
Yeah. I mean, for Halloween, they had babies that had, the hair and the whole goatee and the bit. And he's a funny guy. And the players love playing for him. He gets in that meeting room and he puts on a show for them.
Too bad he's not candid, huh?
Yeah.
From the 7-yard line on first down. Breeze throws. Graham is open. And Graham finally gets knocked out of bounds into the Cowboy bench up at the 35-yard line.
Well, we've been talking about it all night long. They do it all the time, and still you can't cover it. This deep crosser, they send the wide receiver on the other side straight down the field to clear everything out. And then Breeze just waits for Jimmy Graham to come across there. And I tell you, I have great respect for Jimmy Graham. This guy is sitting on a contract year. He's probably going to be franchised and not get the kind of money he would, obviously, on the open market. And a lot of the guys in those contract years, if they have an injury like this foot injury that he has, they ain't playing like this. I mean, they're taking a few weeks off and getting right because they're about to get paid. He's played right through it.
That was a gain of 26. And out of the outside goes Ingram, who's really gotten on track, and a flag comes down at the end of the play. Sims holding up his arms as if to say, what did I do? He might have gotten his hand on a face mask here, and that's going to cost him a few more.
At the end of the play, personal foul, tackling by the face mask, defense, 15-yard penalty added to the end of the run, automatic first down.
And that would be, we believe, Ernie Sims.
Oh, he showed him taking a little swing before. That time he took a swing and got the face mask. It is hard to believe how far this Saints franchise has come, though, since Sean Payton and Drew Brees and all these guys and post-Katrina and put it together, go to the championship the first year.
In 06. Lost to Chicago, and then it's a championship game, and that pass is incomplete, but there's another flag. The flag is about 12 yards past the line of scrimmage, a little less than that, so probably a holding call.
Holding, defense, number 39. 5-yard penalty, automatic first down.
And it's Brandon Carr holding Jimmy Graham.
Well, Brandon Carr spent the week this week covering Jason Witten because he knew he was going to have to take on the big guy. Tried to take a page out of Aqib Talib from New England's playbook by getting up and jamming him. He felt like that really gave Jimmy Graham some problems. But when you let Jimmy Graham come off the ball, the problems are yours.
Easy. Kill. Kill, kill, kill. Mike 5-4. Ready. You ready, my shot?
Swing pass. Caught out the flat. Ingram takes it to the 25-yard line. Check in with Michelle again.
Well, Cowboys linebacker Justin Durant has been downgraded, now out with a hamstring injury. So 2 starting linebackers, Durant and Sean Lee, both suffering hamstring injuries tonight, both out, Al.
All right, thank you, Michelle. And of course, we chronicled that defensive line. DeMarcus Ware is anything but 100%. And so I'll tell you one thing, the Cowboys need the bye week, and they get it next week. Breeze is thrown for 301 yards. Adds a few more here as that is caught by Robert Meacham, the once and present Saint who was here, went to San Diego for a brief while, and then they brought him back. 1st and goal.
Well, for Drew Brees, the motion after that shoulder surgery has been just about flawless. Almost every pass you see is almost the exact same kind of motion. Up on his toes, sort of peeking over the line sometimes. But really the strength of what Drew Brees does happens between his ears.
Brees has now hit 9 different receivers tonight. Meacham being number 9, 1st and goal now from the 8-yard line. Toss, Sproles looking for room to the outside and gets dragged down, and a flag because Bruce Carter comes in from behind with a probable horse collar.
Yeah, and you see why that penalty is illegal. Aaron Sproles right back down, leg folded underneath him. I hope he's okay.
Automatic 1st down.
Jeez. Here comes. Interesting, just grabbed inside that shoulder pad area just a bit. To watch what happens to his knees, just folds right back underneath him, and that is what the league is trying to avoid, and justifiably so.
From the 4, the running back is Ingram. His 8th carry of the night is a Saints touchdown. Give it to Ingram behind the fullback Collins, and into the end zone he goes.
Well, when you're in this situation and you're Monty Kiffin, you got to start moving people because you can't hold up one-on-one. So they're starting to move guys inside, and unfortunately the ball is going to end up coming outside. Just the right call against the right defense and a walk-in. Al, I have to say, in many ways, this Cowboys defense is unrecognizable right now without their stars in there.
Hartley for the extra point. Ingram with his first touchdown of the season. He's missed a lot of games with a toe injury. Into the end zone he goes. 28 unanswered points for the Saints, who lead at 35-10. Dwayne Harris flag is thrown. Takes it back to the 22-yard line. But the Chiefs enjoying their bye week and can't wait to take a look at that group with Andy Reid and that unbelievable defense. There's Sean Lee coming back in civvies. He went out in the first half. And last night, you know, we were talking to Brandon Carr of the Cowboys, the defensive back who played with Kansas City. And I said, what are you guys telling me? He said, you know, I could see that coming when I was there. I could see it 2 years ago. There is Carr, and it's just it's all gelled for them.
Yeah, me too. I predicted they were going to be undefeated.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness. Receiving team, number 53. Half the distance to the goal. Dallas keeps the ball. Now.
The Chiefs, an unbelievable story. The first team in any of the 4 major professional sports leagues to start a season 9-0 after having the worst record in its sport the previous year, which of course gave them the #1 draft choice. Not only 9-0, 17 or fewer points allowed in each game. The defense has been fabulous. They got Alex Smith from San Francisco. We'll see Jamal Charles. They go into Denver next Sunday night. Romo fires on first down, and it's caught. Witten had a little trouble hanging on to it, but was able to gain control of it. First down up at the 32-yard line. No huddle, they go. Or they're trying to, but now they're going to say no catch. Romo and everybody was coming up. Even the Saints were lining up defensively. Witten having trouble holding on to it. Juggle. And they rule it came out. All right,
159 on the game clock for the incomplete pass.
So if it doesn't hit the ground, Garrett could challenge, but he's getting the word from upstairs, and there it is. There's the challenge flag. I mean, at this point, you're down by 25 points.
And you finally
you
make
might
a
as
play.
well. Yeah, you make a play. You might as well. You know, the question is, did it hit the ground? He's juggling. He got control of it at the end. But was it on the ground or not?
There was a moment there where he kind of had
Dallas is challenging the rule of the field for the incomplete pass.
But you know it's going bad when Jason Witten's not catching balls like that. One of the surest-handed guys in the league, and I don't think he ever really looked at that ball. I'm not sure it did hit the ground.
No, it's definitely worth a challenge. I mean, as you're looking at it.
Right there, he kind of possesses it,
right.
But then it gets
Loses
knocked out.
Possesses it again at the end.
You gonna say anything's conclusive? You gonna overturn that one?
It has to be that one angle that shows from the other. Well, there it looks like it hits the ground there.
I think they're gonna lose it. Unless they somehow say that he gained possession for that one moment, then it was knocked out. But usually that sort of bang play, they don't give you the benefit of the doubt on.
Right. Well,
yeah, there's the tip of the ball.
That's a good
ground.
angle right there because the ball's on the ground, and there's probably not enough to overturn it. Again, the call on the field is incomplete. So we're gonna guess that it's going to stay. Witten last week dropped a pass, an on-target pass. He had made 117 consecutive catches on target throws. So here's a guy who almost never drops a pass. And now if this one stands, this will be 2 games in a row.
Yeah. The worst part is when you have great hands, sometimes you just assume catches. When you're that wide open, you just assume the catch. And that's when you can get into trouble. But for Jason Garrett, the beat goes on for the Dallas Cowboys. They're an every other week kind of team, aren't they?
I'll say Witten, that only game he missed was in his rookie season. He missed 1 game with a broken jaw. So a guy who's been in the league 11 years now, played his college ball at Tennessee. Steady, solid, and one of those guys who, you know, you're always talking about, is a guy a Hall of Famer or not? Well, I mean, he's in the conversation. There's no question.
No doubt about it. But I tell you, what's going to be in the conversation right now is you take Des Bryant away from Tony Romo, and it doesn't go so well. It didn't go so well in Detroit. It's not going so well here tonight. And somehow they're going to have to find a way with some shifts, some stack formations, some motion, something. They have to get, because he is the guy, along with Jason Witten. That guy's not the guy who has to kind of get this thing going.
Well, Bryant last year, here's the call from Boger.
After reviewing the play, the rule of the field is confirmed. Incomplete pass. 2nd down. Dallas is called a challenge and a timeout.
Back to the 11-yard line, talking about Bryant last year. No catches tonight against the same team last season. A phenomenal day, 224 yards and 2 touchdowns. Tonight, zilch.
Rob Ryan's kicking their butt right now.
Dallas has 120 yards total in almost 3 full quarters. And Romo throws, and Witten makes the catch this time and does get the first down before he's tackled up at the 30-yard line.
Well, they're finally able to take advantage of some man coverage, and who's that? Kenny Vaccaro coming up, shaking his head a little bit.
#1 draft choice rookie out of Texas.
And I think they're going to call an official's timeout because Vaccaro is now down on a knee. Like a standing 8 count by that official. Good recognition on his part. Well, boy, there's the second way you get him when that knee goes into the helmet. Probably the second worst.
So boy, take Vaccaro off.
What a big pickup he's been, though. From the very opening day, made the play, the game saver against Atlanta. I think it was here. And that sort of jump-started the whole season and maybe sort of sent Atlanta season headed the other way. 3 safeties drafted in the first round, and he was the first one. A lot of people thought that maybe Dallas was looking at him. They ended up trading back, picking up Travis Frederick, and with the extra pick got Terrence Williams.
Isa Abdul-Quddus comes in to take his spot. Yeah, Dallas wound up trading down. They wound up picking the center, Travis Frederick. That was another need Dallas had. They had to cement the interior of the offensive line. Romo dancing around under pressure and just has to sling it away as the flag is down, as you see, at the 28-yard line.
Offside. Defense, number 28. 5-yard penalty. Replay, first down.
It's Keenan Lewis, another good pickup for the Saints, a guy who came over from the Steelers.
Yeah, and let's give Keenan Lewis some credit. He has been the guy now more often than not. Whoever the ace receiver is for the other team, Keenan Lewis gets him. A little bigger guy, a little more size, and actually he's come up with 3 interceptions in 4 years in Pittsburgh. He only had 1. So things are going his way here.
Yeah, one reason we haven't mentioned his name tonight is because he's done such a great job on Bryant. They haven't gone to Bryant. 1st and 5. Jostled as he got it away. Dez last year, you go back to the next to last week, Chris, against the same team.
Yeah, and he was matched up against Patrick Robinson, who tried to play more off coverage against him. And that's dangerous because anytime you're allowed to get down the field and you let Dez Bryant begin to work that big body and get that rebound position on you, double moves. Patrick Robinson had a rough night. Dez Bryant had a great night.
And tonight, Bryant having no night, and Lewis getting some help having a great night.
Look what they did. They flip-flopped the 2 receivers over here to get Dez Bryant inside.
And Romo looks that way, and it's juggled, and it is caught. So Bryant finally makes a catch, juggling grab, and takes it to the 21-yard line.
There you go. Now you got Cole Beasley on the inside, and Tony Romo said, to heck with that. Dez, you come in and run the slot and run this play. I'm going to throw it to you. And they come up with a big one. So you bring Dez inside. Well, now he's back outside. But they just flip-flop those 2 guys at the behest of Tony Romo before that play.
Final minute of the 3rd quarter. And Romo has a man wide open in the end zone, and that is Terrence Williams for the touchdown. So the Dallas Cowboys finally able to get something going after 1 good drive in the first quarter, nothing since. And from their own 11, they go 89 yards in 5 plays, all passes. Terrence Williams, who was RG3's favorite target when the 2 of them were at Baylor a couple of years back. Dan Bailey for the extra point. And the Dallas Cowboys still with a pulse. 35-17 with 41 ticks remaining in the 3rd.
Tony Romo came walking out and said, Dez, get in here. You guys switch. I want to throw it to you. So they flip him in there. And Dez, because he knows the offense much better than he has the last couple of years, is able to make the adjustment, come in. Maybe a little push off that time on Keenan Lewis, gets up and makes the play, and then Terrence Williams with a double move in and then up the field, taking advantage. Now the Cowboys finally get something going offensively, and boy, was it needed.
The double move took care of Jabari Greer. That is the 5th touchdown catch for Terrence Williams, a kid who grew up in Dallas, loved the Cowboys, was so excited to get drafted by them. He was telling us last night that on draft day, the 2nd day of the draft when he was picked, RG3's calling him saying, man, I'm trying to get you to the Redskins. I'm trying to get the Redskins to draft you.
But it was funny because he talked about, he said, it's draft day and the phone number comes up and it's a Dallas area code. And I'm like, oh, it's one of my buddies. And he almost didn't answer the phone. He goes, well, let me go ahead and answer it. And he answers it. He goes, Terrence, it's Jerry Jones. How'd you like to be a Dallas Cowboy? And there it was.
And they met the Redskins on a Sunday night 4 weeks ago. Dallas won.
Uh-oh.
He's got an onside kick here, and it's loose at the 40. Still loose at the 48-yard line, and the Dallas Cowboys do not. They don't have it. Or they do. Yes, they do have it. It looked like they were exultant on the Saints bench for just a second, then all of a sudden the official comes in there. The onside kick here. Cameron Lawrence is the guy. There he is, 53, rookie out of Mississippi State. Bailey with a good onside kick, has to go 10 yards. Right at that spot, it's touched and not fielded cleanly by the Saints, and Lawrence is able to get in there.
And Sean Payton's not the only one that can call a surprise onside kick. Sean's probably the most famous one of all in the Super Bowl. But now for Jason Garrett, there you go. He can get a little high five from DeMarcus Ware on that one.
You know, Philip Tanner got hurt. He's one of the backup running backs behind DeMarco Murray and Lance Dunbar. So the Cowboys down by 18, 37 seconds remaining in the third quarter as they work on Philip Tanner. And we go to Michelle.
Well, safety Kenny Vaccaro for the Saints went back to the locker room to receive concussion protocol. We don't know what the results are yet, but we do know the results of Saints tight end Benjamin Watson. He is out with a concussion. He had gone back to the locker room previously, so a hard-hitting game for the Saints. They're on the losing end of that deal right now, Al.
All right, thank you, Michelle. And both teams have had their issues tonight. Of course, Sean Lee went out early for Dallas, and that's been a killer. But now the Cowboys with a shot at the end of the third quarter. After that last drive, went 89 yards in 5 plays. It took almost no time at all, and they send Bryant into the slot again to the right side. They send Williams outside to the right.
And right now, nothing but backup safeties in the game for the Saints. Let's see if they try an attack there.
The 4-man rush, it's tipped, and Beasley winds up with the ball, but it's on the ground, incomplete. Beasley trying to make it look like he was able to make the catch, but it was Glenn Foster who came in and tipped it.
Now this Glenn Foster is a guy, a couple of sacks already, but he was dominant in preseason, got hurt, but they really feel like Glenn Foster has a chance.
Second down and 10, 33 seconds. Spread them out. Romo has them 5 wide. Again, a 4-man rush. Tony under pressure. Incomplete.
Ooh, that's a discussable. That may be intentional grounding. He was under pressure in the pocket. There was a receiver on that side, but really nobody in that area.
It's being discussed right now. There is no flag. There is no flag at the moment that's been thrown.
Oh.
But
Tony got away with kicking the football last week, but he just got 15 yards there, and that's not smart at all.
Lost the argument.
Intentional grounding. Offense number 9. The quarterback was in the pocket under duress and did not get the ball back to the original line of scrimmage. 10-yard penalty. Correction, started the foul. Lost it down. Third down.
He was under duress from 94, Cameron Jordan.
There you go. There's the tackle box inside, under duress. Doesn't get back to the line of scrimmage, and that takes care of that.
That makes it 3rd down and 21 from the 37. Then just a 4-man rush, and then the pass is dropped up at the 45 by Witten. Pass a little bit low, so they get the onside kick, and the next thing you know, it's 4th down and 21.
Well, and Rob Ryan's guys get it done again. That's a couple of times in this game now that they have been put in tough situations, and they have answered the bell on it. And for Tony Romo and the guys, it's not good. Boy, that's a momentum changer. That's a chance to get back in the game, and they did nothing but go backwards.
Jones with the punt. Short kick. Sproles lets it go. Takes a nice Dallas hop and roll. And they'll spot the ball at the 17-yard line. 13 seconds remaining in the third quarter. 35-17 Saints.
You know, one thing that happened because of the injury on that onside kick, a lot of times when you recover an onside kick like that, your offense knows it's coming. So you shoot your offense out there. You've got a design play to come off of that. But because of the fact there was an injured player, it gave the Saints defense a chance to get organized, to get settled, and they answered.
Right. You had the momentum of a touchdown, of recovering the onside kick, of going right to work again, and then it all goes flat. Breeze from the 17, over the middle. Boy, he works the middle so beautifully. Ingram makes the catch. Gain of 9. That takes us to the end of the third quarter. 35-17 Saints, and Sunday Night Football from New Orleans continues after these messages. The NFC South standings right now: Saints 6-2, trying to go to 7-2. Carolina wins today, knocks off San Francisco, with Atlanta and Tampa Bay out of it. Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, Michelle Tafoya. Here we go in the fourth quarter on the 2nd down and 1, with Pierre Thomas picking up a first down. Stopped at the 30-yard line. And tonight on the ground, the Saints have rushed for 152 yards to go with 327 passing yards for Breeze.
Well, and Mark Ingram's had a big part of that before tonight. Just 50 yards in 3 games and 2.4 yards a carry. And tonight, averaging 10 yards a carry, almost 100 at 83. So they're starting to get production from all those backs, and we know what Sproles has done.
Yeah, Pierre Thomas with 57 yards on 10 carries. Breeze on a little roll to the right, and then Colston breaks tackles. And a first down up to the 44-yard line. Got away from Micah Pellerin. NFC East, folks in Philadelphia pretty happy right now. They beat Green Bay today. So if Dallas loses, Philly and Dallas each 5-5, and the Giants and Washington would each be 3-6. Giants starting 0-6 and have won 3 straight, including today's win against Oakland. First down from the 44. The running back is Ingram. Through the middle he goes. Up to the 47. Jed Collins doing a good job up front blocking. Fullback.
Everybody else is getting a little airtime tonight. How about the fullback, Jed Collins? He's been the guy sort of leading the way, and that was even before Sean Lee went out of there. Aren't many fullbacks left playing in the National Football League, but when you get a good one, give him a chance to go downhill and do a little blocking there. He was a linebacker in college, made the conversion and did it well.
Dallas, one of those without a fullback. 2nd down and 6. Breeze has it batted, and then it's incomplete. Batted up in the air, and that'll make it 3rd down.
You know, it's interesting. You brought up the fact that the Cowboys don't have a fullback. They drafted Gavin Escobar, and they really, all right, we're going to commit no fullback. We're going to go the other tight end, and then it just really hasn't worked out. Escobar really hasn't provided the sort of impact I think they thought he would, being drafted in the 2nd round, and James Hanna has had to take that role.
There's Collins. Breeze, meanwhile, perfect on 3rd down. And sliding left and going deep and adjusting is Kenny Stills for the touchdown. A little underthrown, and Stills able to come back, and Jeff Heath, the rookie, caught out of position at the end. So Drew Brees on a 3rd and 6 for 52 yards to Stills.
And his average just went up, led the NFL 22.6 yards per catch. And somebody's got to explain to me how Kenny Stills is still around in the 5th round of the draft. This guy has proven to be one of the great deep threats so far. And boy, when you can have somebody stretch the field vertically for Drew Brees and allow those guys to work the middle, I don't know what you do.
Garrett Hartley for the point after. Drew Brees, 392 yards, 4 touchdowns, 42-17.
I took a couple of USO tours while I was playing, one afterwards. And I know a lot of NFL players are listening out there. If you are given the opportunity, go. It'll change your view of the world. I'm just telling you, when you see what those people do for us on a daily basis, it'll change your view of the world.
Yeah, Drew Brees, one of those who has been on it, and some wonderful stories about his experience. Dallas will have the ball at the 20-yard line with 12:43 remaining, and the Saints up 42-17. Back to the Superdome. First down for the Dallas Cowboys from their own 20-yard line. And this is DeMarco Murray. Cowboys tonight, just prior to that play, had 82 rushing yards and 82 penalty yards.
You know, we've seen it before. We were talking about it before the game. Like, you know, I really worry when you come in here that no matter who the team is, they're going to get blown out, because more often than not, when Drew Brees gets it going, the other team, the other quarterback just can't keep up.
Well, this would make the Saints 5-0 in this building, with San Francisco coming here next week after losing today to Carolina. And all of a sudden, Carolina is the one team chasing the Saints in the NFC South. Cowboys have a bye week, and then they'll resume play against the Giants. So they go to the Giants on the 24th. Then they have the Thanksgiving Day game in Texas against Oakland. They go to Chicago. They have Green Bay at home, at Washington. And they'll end the season at home against Philadelphia, a team they've already beat.
Well, you just have to hope, if you're a Cowboys fan, that Sean Lee is okay, because this is a different looking defense without him.
3rd and 5, and Romo going for Williams, and the pass is incomplete. That's uncovered very well by Jabari Greer, and it's 4th down.
Across the board, just a terrific game by this secondary. They really have not had to blitz very much at all. You know, it's one of the I don't know, misconceptions, I think, about Rob Ryan. As a matter of fact, Sean Payton was telling us, he goes, hey, what happened to all those 0 blitzes and all those bringing 6 and 7 guys I used to hear about? He said he really, as a matter of fact, he is below average as far as blitzing is concerned, but he gives you the appearance of pressures, even though he doesn't always bring that pressure.
Chris Jones. Fair catch call for. The numbers within the numbers. The Cowboys 0 for 8 on 3rd down tonight. Saints 8 for 10. 42-17. Halftime ceremony. Those 3 men, the first to be on the Ring of Honor here at the Superdome. Archie Manning, Ricky Jackson, who's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame as well, and Willie Roaf, who is also in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. All of them honored tonight as they begin a Ring of Honor at the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. Meanwhile, the Saints, with a very comfortable lead, can begin to work on the clock. Mark Ingram picks up about 3. There's Arch. Perhaps you've heard about a couple of his sons. Ricky Jackson, that great outside linebacker. He and Pat Swilling used to wreak havoc here in the 80s. And Willie Roaf, who went into the Hall of Fame in Canton in 2012. And there they were.
That's a good start to the ring right there.
Well, I'll say Tom Benson and Gail Benson. Tom, owner of this team, as we mentioned before, since '85. Very powerful man in the league. Been on the finance committee for a number of years, and watching his team rip apart the Cowboy defense tonight. Mark Ingram is up and over 100 yards tonight.
You know, he kind of looks like now Chris Ivory. This is what Chris Ivory did to the Saints last week. But he has been ripping these things off at about 10 yards a clip. Once again, Jed Collins right in front, clearing the way against Bruce Carter. And boy, this is the one night it just seems to have imploded. Of course, the Denver Broncos got this defense pretty good too, but I'm sure it's not breaking Rob Ryan's heart watching them going up and down the field against them.
Saints have 559 total yards tonight. And a lot more coming here. Busting one again. All the way to the 26-yard line goes Mark Ingram. Tackled by Jeff Heath. That's 31 yards. So Breeze has thrown for 392, and the Saints have rushed for 207.
Well, the old pro Jari Evans right here is having no problem getting up, securing that, getting up to the next level, and there you go. Anytime you've got one offensive lineman that takes care of two guys, your safeties are having to make too many tackles, and it seems like Jeff Heath has been in too many one-on-one battles tonight.
From the 27, they bring Pierre Thomas back in. And Thomas exploits another big hole. And that should be enough for a first down as Barry Church trips him up at the 17-yard line.
One of the jobs of the fullback is to simply lead the way, and then the tailback has to just trust him. So it really doesn't matter where he goes. You just follow him. He's going to be the guy that's going to take you to wherever that hole is. And if you get good fullbacks, their instincts are to be trusted. You think of old Moose Johnson and Emmitt Smith and all those kinds of things. And Jed Collins done a nice job tonight.
That is 600 yards of offense for the Saints tonight from the 17-yard line. Thomas, just a big sieve there right now in that Dallas defense. It'll be second down and 1 at the 8-yard line. So there are the four guys. The Manning boys, Rivers and Stafford, have all thrown for 400 or more yards against the Cowboys this season. And the only thing that would stop Breeze right now is the fact that they're just taking time off the clock. The game is pretty much in hand, and they're not going to pour it on at least through the air. But he has 392.
He's 392. He's 8 yards away from the end zone.
He has 4 touchdown passes already.
Hey, opposite.
Ingram is the running back.
Ready. You ready, my shot?
And he'll give it to him. And Ingram trying to get to the end zone for the second time tonight. But this time he is taken down by Brandon Carr on the outside. Clock going down to 7 minutes left in the quarter. In the fourth quarter. Of course, the Carolina Panthers red hot right now, and they're the only team chasing the Saints in the NFC South. And the Saints and the Panthers, 2 games to play against each other going down the stretch, 2 over a 3-week period.
I tell you, Carolina's defense is going to mean they are going to be in this race until the end. They can play. Luke Kuechly and company, they are tough.
3rd and 1 through the middle. Ingram, he'll take it to the 1-yard line. That'll make it first down and goal. NFL record, most yards in a game by a team. You'd have to go back to 1951 when the Rams had 735 yards one day.
Let's watch the center one more time. He and Jari Evans just working those combination blocks perfectly to that side. And I think Sean Payton's trying to make up for all those poor rushing stats all in one night. You know, there's nothing a head coach likes better than at the end of the game to be able to turn around, hand that thing off, and just overpower a defense.
A touchdown, which would also be a first down, and it is a touchdown for Pierre Thomas. So Thomas gets into the end zone, and I mentioned a touchdown is a first down, and that's 39 first downs tonight for the Saints. Ties an NFL record.
My money's on them to break it. I mean, it just doesn't matter who it is. I mean, this offensive line is just taken over, and for all the great work that this Cowboys defensive line and the 17 guys that they've brought in here have done, no match tonight.
So the three teams that had 39 first downs, 2 of those games went into overtime. This one still has 5:44 remaining. It's 49-17 Saints. Well, the Dallas Cowboys getting shredded tonight. Bye week, then to the Giants in 2 weeks. And from the 3-yard line, we'll get a run back here from Dwayne Harris out to the 21-yard line. What a night for him. Him too. Well, Rod Marinelli, a tough night for him, tough night for Kiffin, tough night for all the Cowboys, especially that defense. Just still coaching them up. As Romo hands the ball off on first down to DeMarco Murray, who was such a big part of that early lead taken by Dallas. Great initial burst by the Cowboy offense on the ground, but nothing since. And Tony, meanwhile, is 10 out of 24 for 128 yards. Ware playing through the injury. Sean Lee out. 2nd down and 8. And a sack back at the 12-yard line as Tony goes down. Tom Johnson gets the sack, and the Cowboys, who are now 0 for 8 on 3rd down, will come up with a 3rd down and 18.
I tell you, Al, watching the tape of the game last week against the Jets, I thought the Saints blew about 6 or 7 assignments in the game, and almost every one of them cost them big. I don't think we've circled one busted coverage. I don't think we've seen one blown gap assignment. And they've been doing it with a lot of backups in there. I mean, Ramon Humber has played a lot of this game, and he's played well.
And Romo's going to get sacked at the 5-yard line. So just a ton of ugly numbers for the Cowboys tonight, no matter which side of the ball you look at. 0 for 9 on 3rd down and another sack here.
Well, somebody's got to explain to me why Tony Romo's in the game at this point. I'm sure there's a good explanation. Here's Des Bryant, and he's almost given up on the outside.
So it's 4th down and 26. And from the end zone, Darren Sproles takes the Jones punt and brings it back to the 48-yard line. Thomas with a new quarterback, Luke McCown, whose brother Josh is the backup in Chicago and wound up playing the end of the game today with Cutler out.
You want to take a guess who's going to win the NFC East? I mean, this has been a little.
You know, everybody's. I mean, even Washington at 3-6 is.
They're alive.
Yeah.
I guess you would have to say Philadelphia. You maybe had to figure new coach. It might have taken them a little while, and Nick Foles now playing well, and Sean McCoy. But I don't know. I just don't know.
2nd and 2.
Cowboys have a win over the Eagles already, right? So that'll help that cause.
In Philadelphia, they'll meet in Arlington the last night of the season. So it'll be 3rd and 5. The only mystery in this one is, will the Saints set an NFL record for most first downs in a game? The next would be their 40th.
I think they should put Drew back in.
Drew Esikoff. Third and 4. And just going to have to settle for tying the record. The Dallas Cowboys tonight, the Cowboys have run 43 plays in the game, and the Saints have 39 first downs. Think about that. Think about that if you're a Saints fan, not a Cowboy fan. 49-17 at the 2-minute warning.
There you go. I knew a few of those would be in here tonight. Thanks, Jerry, for Rob Ryan. And his first meeting with this team, he said, you know what, guys, we all have a little something to prove. I got fired. They didn't want me. You guys were the worst defense in the history of the NFL last year. So we had a common bond from the start. And right now, looks like the Saints got the better end of that deal.
Well, the Saints will line up with a chance to set that first down record here on a 4th and 5 from the 42-yard line. And they're going to get it because that is Pierre Thomas with that second effort. And right there on the yellow line, the head linesman marches in. It is a 40th first down, a new NFL record. 40. Amazing.
Well, a little payback. This was a team, the Dallas Cowboys, who came in 2009, right, when they were undefeated, 13-0, and Cowboys pinned their first loss on them, and tonight it wasn't even close.
So 40 first downs, and they can take a couple of kneel downs to end it. Huge night, of course, for Rob Ryan. We've talked all night about Rob. We mentioned before Sean Payton didn't even know him. Sean telling us yesterday didn't know him at all. I talked to people. The feedback was different than I expected. He's an outstanding staff guy, extremely loyal. The players play hard for him. And Sean spending the suspended season in Dallas, so watched all of the Cowboy games last year, saw the job that he did, understood the injuries and the impact. And it's all working out pretty well. Joe Vitt right there, the longtime assistant. Joe, the interim head coach for several games last year. And McCown kneels down, and that's going to do it from the Superdome. Jason Garrett and his team will go flying home, take the bye week, and then head to the Meadowlands to take on the Giants. There it is. Most yards allowed by the Cowboys in the history of the franchise. Rob, of course, exchanging greetings and pleasantries with a lot of the guys that he wound up coaching last year. But it's all Saints tonight. After at one point Dallas had a 10-7 lead, but the Saints wind up winning the game by 32.